Hold up.
Every day I wake up, wake your ass up.
The Breakfast Club.
Y'all finished or y'all done?
We are the Breakfast Club. Let's get in some front page news. Good morning, Mimi.
Good morning, everyone. How y'all doing?
Good morning. You look good, girl.
Thank you, Jess. I hope you feel better. Thank you, girl.
Thank you.
All right, well, we start this morning with who draws the line and who gets to keep the power. Politicians in several states are rushing to redo congressional maps before 2026, but voters, they are not buying it. An NBC poll shows most Americans want independent commissions, not parties who are in charge redrawing the maps. Now, this all began in Texas, where Republicans backed by President Trump pushed a mid-decade map to lock in more House seats. Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed it into law last week. Civil rights group, they sued immediately, saying it dilutes the Black and Latino votes. Democrats in California, they're also pushing a Newsom-backed November ballot measure that, if other states keep redrawing, would temporarily let lawmakers replace the state's independent map. Republicans have already sued to block that. And in Missouri, GOP leaders advance a mid-cycle map that deeply splits Kansas City and puts longtime Democratic Congressman Emanuel Cleaver at risk. And now Utah is jumping in. A judge there said lawmakers blew past voter-approved anti-gerrymandering rules and ordered a new map before the midterm. So in other words, voters set guardrails, lawmakers went around them, and now the court is forcing a redo that would keep more of Salt Lake City together and make one district competitive at least. Now, appeals there are also pending, but the clock is ticking. They have a September 25th deadline to look at that. Now, all of this brings us back to Texas, the state that helped kick this off, which is home to some of the nation's largest Black communities. And how those lines are drawn will decide who's heard and who's pushed into the margins. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, she spoke earlier this week about those maps and what this now means. Let's listen to that.
These maps, racist. The fact that they are trying to silence Black and minority voters in a majority minority state, racist. I want to give y'all some numbers because I don't think that y'all fully understand how bad this is. Texas, number one, has more African Americans than any other state in this country. Right now, under the proposed maps, they want to make it to where Texas only has 2 districts in which African Americans have an opportunity to choose their representation. What does that mean for Black voices in Texas? That means that it is approximately 1/5 the voting strength of their white Texan neighbors.
Mm-hmm. So expect court fights, ballot measures, and confusion over who represents who. But the NBC poll is very clear that 82% of people, they want neutral lines from, they don't want party lines to be drawn based on if you're Republican or Democrat. And so now to Capitol Hill, where GOP leaders are facing a showdown over health care. Speaker Mike Johnson is under growing pressure from within his own party to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits before they expire at the end of the year. So far, 11 Republicans, many from competitive districts, have signed onto a bill that would keep the subsidies in place for another year. Without action, millions of Americans could see their health insurance premiums jump by an average of 18% by January 1st. This puts Republicans in a tough spot because for years the party has fought against Obamacare, but now with more than 24 million people enrolled in marketplace plans and more than 90% relying on these subsidies, letting them expire could spark political backlash. And so some lawmakers want to fold this into an extension into this month's government funding deal, but Speaker Mike Johnson, he hasn't committed, but he does say there are, quote, thoughtful conversations happening, but says there's a lot of opposition. Meanwhile, Democrats, they're drawing a red line, warning they will not support any budget deal that lets benefits lapse. They argue that without action, millions of people will lose coverage while everyone else will pay higher premiums. So that fight is far from over. Senate Republicans say they want to compromise, possibly by tightening eligibility requirements rather than eliminating those credits altogether. But with the government funding deadline looming and election season coming up, both parties are under pressure to act or face some political fallout.
Yeah, I just don't understand how you sit around thinking on how to make people's lives worse. Like, it should be an easy call to extend the affordable, Care Act. Like, it should be an easy call. Like, it makes people's lives better. Like, why would you want to cut people's health care in any way, shape, or form?
But now it's the principle, because Republicans have fought for so long against Obamacare that now it's just like they don't want to do it, even though millions of Americans are on it and they need it, and they will lose their health care. So a lot of people are writing and calling into their senators and their congressmen, and making sure that that is folded into the government shutdown bill. So we'll see, Charlotte, what happens.
Or maybe if Republicans just start calling it the Affordable Care Act and stop calling it Obamacare, and understand that their constituents and people that voted for them also benefit from this, because that's what government should be about, right? It shouldn't matter who, what party,
side, right
what
side,
party implemented
Democrats,
what.
it's the people, right?
Yeah, it shouldn't
That's
matter
what
what party implemented what politician implemented what. If it helps the American people, that should be what we care about.
That's right. All right. Well, that is front page news. All right, Mimi, we'll see you next hour. Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Jess Hilarious, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. Let's get back in some front page news. What's up, Mimi?
What's up, y'all? So this is a story that has been having a lot of back and forth. And then there was another ruling that came down yesterday. So a federal judge on Tuesday blocked President Trump's attempt to fire Lisa Cook from the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors, issuing a temporary restraining order that keeps her on the job for now while the case proceeds. The judge in the case ordered Chair Jerome Powell and the board not to carry out the removal. Cook is one of seven governors who help run the central bank. She sits on the Federal Open Market Committee, which votes on interest rates and helps the banking rules and financial stability policies. Decisions the feds make, they make mortgage rates rules, car loans, credit card applications, and how banks are supervised. For months, Trump has pressed the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates, arguing that his tariff policies will not push up inflation, but central bankers want to see how the trade war and other policy changes affect the U.S. economy before resuming cuts. Now, in the spring, Trump threatened to fire Chair Jerome Powell, then backed off as advisors warned him this would spark the market volatility. So rather than take on Powell, whose term ends in May of 2026, it seems the focus has shifted to reshaping the board. Now, if Cook, a Biden appointee, were removed, Democratic appointed governors would drop to 2 of the 7-member panel. Now, to do this, Trump has gone after Cook on mortgage fraud, allegations tied to properties that she owns in Georgia and in Michigan. Cook denies any wrongdoing and has not been charged, and she sued to keep her seat. During a cabinet meeting, though, Trump was asked if her attempted firing was political and if his administration was weaponizing government by digging into the mortgage records of people he does not like. Let's listen to what he had to say.
No, they're public. I mean, you can find out those records. You can go check out the records yourself. And you should be doing that job, actually. You wouldn't do that because that's not the kind of reporter you are. But you should be doing that job. I shouldn't have to be doing it. If you did your job properly, we wouldn't have problems like Lisa Cook.
Right then and there, that's when the reporter should be like, okay, Mr. President, but what about the Epstein files? Like, whenever he insults you, you should bring up exactly what you know bothers him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that was a CBS reporter. Presidents don't typically fire Fed leaders. It's part of a norm that's meant to protect the central bank from day-to-day politics. And it's also interesting to mention that Cook is the first Black woman to serve on the Fed board in its 110-year history. So,
you said
we'll see.
And you
Go
said,
ahead, Todd.
and you said that was a CBS reporter, so Trump owned CBS, so that person wasn't going to buck back.
Okay. All right. Well, moving on. If you have ever had your flight delayed for hours or canceled at the last minute and you sat there wondering if the airline owed you anything, this next story is for you, because the Trump administration is reversing a Biden-era plan that would have required airlines to pay passengers compensation when flights are delayed or canceled due to airline-related issues. Now, we're talking payouts that range from $200 to $775, plus coverage for meals and hotel stays if you were stranded because of something like a mechanical failure or a system outage. Now, the plan was first introduced in 2023 under the Biden administration as part of an effort to cut down on junk fees and push for stronger passenger protections. It even made it to final approval the stage earlier this year, and it was waiting to take effect. But the Department of Transportation under Trump, Secretary Sean Duffy says the rule is now being withdrawn. The airline industry, of course, is celebrating this move. The Airlines for America, that's the group that represents Delta, United, and America, they called the reversal a win, arguing the rules would have gone beyond the Department of Transportation's authority, and they're not fixing the real issues. But here's what you need to know. If you are still stranded, or if your flight is canceled, the airline will refund you, but they do not have to compensate you for delays. Some carriers choose to do that, but not everyone. It's totally up to the carriers now that this rule has been reversed.
So we still do get the refund.
You still do if your
Just
flight
not
is
the
canceled,
extra compensation.
not delayed, but canceled. You get the refund.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yet again, I don't understand why this administration is so hell bent on getting rid of things that actually help people. Like after you've been delayed, you want some type of compensation.
Yes.
People miss work.
Yes.
I've been late to shows. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, like you
Especially if it's not your fault. If there's a mechanical issue or
That's right.
staffing shortage, they should pay you for something.
Absolutely. Not even shows, like kids events. Like there's been times I had to fly back to make it to a kid's games, and the flight was delayed or didn't happen, and I was late or missed a kid's game. So yeah, there's a lot going on. Yeah, and you should be compensated. Absolutely.
Yeah, the fact that the Trump administration cares more about what these airlines think than what everyday people think is part of the problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I'm so sick of these politicians that are beholden to corporations.
Yeah, and Evie, I'm talking about like me doing shows. I've been late to my own comedy shows, and people are there waiting for me, but my flight is delayed, and it's like, damn, they want their money back at the end of the, you know what I'm saying? So people miss work is what I mean. Not me going to shows. I'm talking about me working.
I've seen people miss weddings. I've seen people miss funerals. I done seen people miss a whole bunch of things because flights are delayed and they couldn't get. They couldn't get
Imagine
out.
you miss your own funeral because the flight delayed. Because you know sometimes they got to ship a
They gotta
body.
ship your body. Well, the body's in there a couple days before the funeral.
He
wasn't even there.
Right.
Oh my.
All right. Well, if you have been waiting on a Facebook check, the wait is finally over. Let me tell you what this is all about. So payments from the $725 million class action settlement. It was the largest privacy payout in U.S. history. Those checks started going out Wednesday of last week. Now, this is all part of the Cambridge Analytica scandal. Back in 2018, Facebook was accused of improperly sharing data, personal data, without permission with outside companies, including politicians, consulting firms. That data was allegedly used to target ads, influence elections, sparking outrage and lawsuits. It sparked lawsuits and congressional hearings. Now, fast forward to 2023, Facebook, which is now called Meta, agreed to settle the lawsuit for $725 million without admitting any wrongdoing. But the payment process was stalled for months thanks to appeals and objections. Now the company handling the payment says money is officially going out. So this is what you need to know. If you had a Facebook account anytime between May of 2007 and December of 2022, you're likely eligible for a payout. More than 28 million people filed claims, and the amount you get depends on how long you had your account. So there's a point system in place. The longer you were signed up, the bigger your share. But before you get too happy, for most people, the average payment is going to be around $30. Longtime Facebook users could see a little bit more. And if you haven't gotten an email or payment yet, don't panic. The money is being sent out in waves over the next 10 weeks through direct deposit, Venmo, or a paper check, even PayPal. And if you want to check the status of your claim, update your info, or get more details, you can visit the website. It is facebookuserprivacysettlement.com.
Yo, that is crazy. $30.
It sounds like a lot when you say 725 million.
Yes.
But when you split that by 30 million people, it's like $30.
Yup.
All right. Well, thank you, Mimi.
All right, you're welcome. And that's your front page news. I'm Mimi Brown. Follow me on social at Mimi Brown TV. And for more news coverage, follow the Black Information Network or download the free iHeartRadio app and visit binnews.com.
Mimi, do your followers go up when you do that? And do they be all in your DMs?
Charlotte, that's an offline conversation.
Crazy.
Okay?
Crazy.
All right.
Hold up. Every day I wake up, wake your ass up. The Breakfast Club.
Y'all finished or y'all done?